Welcome to this video. My name is Chris Cole, and today's video is about behaviours and actions you may notice in the classroom for a student who is dyslexic. So there's going to be certain types of behaviours and actions that dyslexic students use in the classroom when they're struggling. One of the ones that happens is when they're processing overloads. So this is their visual processing or their auditory processing. So they've had too much information coming in for them to be able to work through quickly and easily. So they either have needed more time or they weren't understanding the overall concept or the big picture of what was happening. So they couldn't, put it or slot it in where it needed to go. So if you have a student with overloaded processing, what you might see in the classroom is that they may be distracted. They may be moving around in their seat a lot or daydreaming. And what it feels like for the student is that it feels like their head hurts. It's just too much and they've disengaged. The other thing that can affect overloaded processing is their anxiety. So anxiety will reduce the capacity they have to process information. The key strengths of dyslexics is seeing the big picture, but it's also what they need to know what they have to do, how to start a task. So if they don't have the information they need to see the big picture, they will do things like ask lots of questions. They may ask the teacher, they may ask the students around them. If they aren't comfortable asking, they may actually just disengage and not be able to start a task. But they will spend time and energy trying to work out what the big picture is before they start something. Dyslexics seem to struggle with the ability to connect information that they might learn in one part to another part. For example, it might be that they've learned to spell a word, but then they go to read it and they haven't made the connection between the spelling of the word and the reading of the word, or even using it in their writing. It can be things like in maths where you've got the words minus and take away meaning the same thing, but they're not making the connection. Working memory is a challenge already for a dyslexic. So having an overloaded working memory is going to happen easily. But what does it look like in the classroom? It can be that they don't understand verbal information, like they can't retain your instructions. It can be that if they're working in groups, that they don't volunteer information because being able to hold what's been said and then process it is too much demand for their memory. It could be as if they haven't paid attention to what you've been saying. It could be like they forget the content of the message and the instructions that you've given them. You would consider them to have a short attention span. It may be that they don't complete tasks. Or it could be that you see that they become frustrated with learning and some challenge that has happened in their learning. It gets worse when we put a processing demand on top of a memory demand. So it can be you've asked them to remember 3 words, but then you ask them to find words that rhyme with the 3 words. So you're asking them to remember, and then you're asking them to process and work through information to come up with these rhyming words. So those 2 things together, the memory and the processing, is very difficult for them to do, and they can disengage or not give it a go or not complete the task. Behaviour can be from them trying to work out what they've got to do, or it can be that they're distracting you from noticing that they're struggling academically. One of the key coping strategies that dyslexics have is masking that they struggle. So they will use whatever strategy they can to stop you from seeing this. It could be that they become very, very helpful in the classroom. It could be that they are the class clown, or that they get angry, Behaviour can also come from if they're talking a lot. It could be that they're trying to get the big picture, or they didn't retain the information that was given out, so they're checking up and asking about it. It also can come from that they've overloaded during the day. So children with learning differences that have sensory processing issues, being in a classroom during the day can be enough to overload that sensory system, and they can have behavioural meltdowns. Dyslexic children generally can hold it together during the day, and they will have their meltdown when they get home. So this is where it's really important that that connection between home and school is there, so you know what is happening for their child when they get home. You know, I talked about the masking strategy. Well, this means that they are unlikely to ask for help as well. So it can be that they don't want anyone to know that they're struggling, but also they just want to fit in. They don't want to seem different. They already know that they're different because they can see the person sitting next to them has been learning to read and they're still struggling. So when you go to provide help, do it very discreetly and privately, and keep in mind that you want to keep their masking strategy in place until they're comfortable for saying that they need help. Dyslexia just doesn't affect children academically. It has a holistic impact on them. It can be affecting their relationships and their socializing. So it could be that they're in a conversation with their peers and they're struggling to keep up with the speed of processing the verbal information. So they're slightly out of sync. It also can impact in other areas such as sports. So for example, they might be on the sports field and the coach is yelling out to them, I want you to be in this position like we talked about, and I want you to do this. So that's a memory and processing that they've got to do really quickly on a sports field. So these, when we're looking at what we see in the classroom, we're looking back to, okay, what's their processing? How's their processing gone? How's their working memory? What are they masking? Have I given them the big picture? If any information in this video has triggered a response for you, please feel free to contact me on this email here at support@learningdifferences.org.nz.